Batgirl number 6, written by Gail Simone, art by Arjun CF. We left off last issue with Gretel hypnotizing Bruce Wayne into attacking Batgirl, aka using that 338 thing going on. This issue picks up, still in the same fight, and Batgirl's like, okay, so Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, is hypnotized. He's attacking me. He seems like he's really into it, and I'm totally not up to face Batman if that's actually happening right now. So, ooh, this is gonna be hard. So she ends up fighting him, trying to get it, like, talk him down the whole time without actually throwing a punch, because he's still Bruce Wayne. And he's like, hey, Bruce, I don't want to hurt you, Mr. Wayne. Please wake up. But in the end, she ends up having to kick him in the face, and she's like, oh, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. The assistant comes up from behind and whacks Batgirl with one of the tablets that she had. And Batgirl's like, why would you do that? You saw he was attacking me. Like, I clearly was not just coming after him for no reason. And, of course, at that point, Bruce Wayne gets back up. And so Batgirl starts to reason, like, okay, hold on now. This is Batman. I'm sure that he has resisted every type of mental attack that has ever been thrown at him. He's too smart to fall for something like this. Maybe he's, like, mostly resisting it. And right now, this is all just for show, because why would Bruce Wayne be able to resist it? So let me just see if we can do this a bit easier. And at that point, Bruce Wayne is charging at Batgirl. She just suplexes him over and thinks back to when they were in the when she was in the hospital after her shooting by the Joker. She was just laying there, and Batman showed up in the hospital room, and she was expecting him to lash out and be like, oh, you were never fit to be Batgirl. You should have trained harder. How did you let this happen? But in the end, he just held her hand and just stood there without saying a word. So, he actually does care about her. And so at that point, Batgirl's like, okay, Bruce, do you know where we are? Because, like, 2 blocks that way, it's where your parents died. We're bringing that up. It's crime alleys over there, Bruce. They're watching you. Don't disappoint them. And at that point, Bruce Wayne drops a crowbar, and he's like, oh, God, what have I done? And so he runs over, hugs Barbara, and they whisper to each other, like, were you just faking that? And he's like, mostly, yeah, but, thanks for what you're doing. And he leans right into her ear and whispers how she was always meant to be Batgirl, which gives her this big surge of confidence. Also, throughout this fight, I didn't mention, at one point, Gretel pulls out a gun, and she's like, oh, I loaded my gun, Batgirl, so once this is done, I only have 3 bullets. Then there are 4 of you, so one of you will have to be dead. Ha 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 ha. So, yeah, that happened. But then as soon as the hypnosis wears off, like, she just runs away. And Bruce Wayne is like, okay, well, we're going to delay the ceremony until tomorrow. Thank you, Batgirl. Don't you have somewhere to be? And she flies off trying to trace down Gretel. And then we get Gretel's whole backstory of her being Leslie Bonner, who was going to be the next Lois Lane. She got in, like, to an undercover reporting thing with a mob boss named Boss Whitaker. And finding out all the people who were related, judges, reporters, cops, powerful men in general. And then one day they found the voice recorder in her bag, and they just shot her 3 times with a .38 revolver. 338. Do you get it? Because if not, they're going to spell it out in 3 pages. So she was shot and she landed in the harbor, but then miraculously she survived. And she was brought to a hospital, and she had this now chip on her shoulder of how, like, her life was taken by some powerful man, and she was brought back to life and kept alive by a bunch of other powerful men, and she just doesn't feel like she has any say in her own life. But something in how she was shot allows her to basically just mind control people. Why the 338? Never actually gets into it, but regardless, that's her story. So anyway, Barbara comes back home. Her mom's making a bunch of baked goods, trying to get on her good side, because that was a storyline that I completely forgot about. She gives her the cold shoulder. Does end up taking 2 muffins, though. She does just one Google search, as far as I can tell, and comes right up with Leslie Bonner 338. And so she calls up Bruce, and she's like, hey, so she's still going to come after you. Also, Boss Whitaker died like 30 minutes ago, so clearly that's just saying that that's definitely the same girl. but she's going to be coming after you again, so how about you act as bait this time? So they go, they do the ceremony again the next day. Batgirl's keeping watch, and as soon as Bruce starts to give his speech for dedication for knocking down this old house, all the cops unleash fire on Bruce. Batgirl tackles him to the ground, starts taking out the cops. And then we see Gretel is up on a crane up above saying like, "Oh, you men of Gotham, you diseased plague upon this town, come and follow under me so that we may be rid of you," or blah, blah, blah. And then Detective McKenna, who I guess is in this book now, punches out Batgirl, tells her that she's under arrest, and Batgirl's like, "Can I take care of this first?" And McKenna's like, "All right, but I got my eye on you." So Batman and Batgirl go up to the crane where they are, and it's not even like a fight. They just talk to her. She throws one punch, and then Batgirl tackles her off the crane. And she's like, "Oh, just let me fall. I've never had any control. I'll be powerless if they arrest me." And Batgirl's like, "I mean, yeah, but you kind of had to know that was happening, right?" So she just sets her down. McKenna arrests Gretel, and she's like, "Are you going to arrest me too?" She's like, "Well, I guess I'll let you off the hook this one time, Batgirl." So that resulted in nothing. And then we get it how it's related to Batgirl because of the feelings of powerlessness and the blah, blah, blah. So I think my biggest issue with this is that the end of issue 4 was all about the mom being the thing, which ended up being like a nothing. I'm sure we're going to keep moving forward with it. But like over the course of these 2 issues, it's been a nothing, and Gretel was the big reveal. So also I get that wanting to make your villains like the dark reflection of your heroes. Like they have something in common with the hero. In Gretel's case, it was the feeling of powerlessness, the feeling of not being in control of your own destiny or your own life or whatever. And I get how that's a reflection on Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, but I also, like, it's so flimsy. Especially because the entire first issue, none of that was apparent. Like, it was only just coming to light in this issue, and it just made it feel like, oh yeah, how do we relate this to Batgirl so she can end on a moral note? Lack of control over her own life. That'll do it. Like, you could have put anything in those 2 pages that were her backstory, and it would have worked. So, yeah, no, I think it's just a little bit flimsy. I do like it. I think it's a decent enough story overall, but it just kind of feels like this issue was like nothing compared to, like, both issues together feel like one issue worth of content. I think that's the best way I could put it. So I'm giving this one a 6.5, mainly just because I think it wrapped it up decently enough, but I definitely think that this was stretched a bit too thin.